Hello and welcome to another episode of Battlefield 4 News. So in this episode I'm going to do nothing but go through the winter patch notes. They've been released as a PDF file, you can go and look at them, I'll put a link in the description, but I'm going to go through them and tell you what they actually mean. So here we are at the start, and DICE have put these in a very strange order. Some minor things they appear to have put as major fixes, and some major things are disappeared into the back of the patch notes. So the first thing that you can see here is soldier traversal and collision. Basically your soldier will now run over rocks on the floor without stopping, and they won't run through each other at the start of a round. You won't randomly bump off objects and get catapulted across the map. That should all have stopped. It's a very nice fix because having to jump over small objects on the floor is a bit annoying, but I really don't know why DICE highlighted it first in their patch notes. Because what comes second is pretty massive. This is more netcode improvements. The original netcode fix was a bubble around your character, and everything in that bubble was polled at 30 Hz, so 3 times the normal rate. But it took in information about everything at 30 Hz. What they've done in this new fix is focused it. Now that high frequency bubble is only half a bubble. It's still centered on your character but only moves out forwards, so it's literally only covering the area your character can see. When you aim down sights, that bubble is turned into a cone, and that projects much further away from your character. What this means is that the server and client only need to exchange half the amount of information to be in sync. To further reduce this information, they've now prioritised the health of a character, the damage that a character is taking, and its location. So what does this mean in terms of gameplay? Well, it means that when you're running around normally, everything in front of you to a certain range is in that high frequency bubble. Only the objects that you're actually seeing and interacting with are in the bubble. Nothing behind you is covered because you don't actually need to interact with that. But when you aim down sights with a long range scope, it turns into a cone in front of you, and that cone is going to include your target, which it didn't do when it was a bubble. This means the information you see down your scope is much more accurate. The character's position and their health is going to be reported faster. So damage from your shot is going to be applied faster, and you're not going to be shooting where somebody once was. You're going to know exactly where they are. They've also applied a similar cone to vehicles, so when you're aiming down sights in a vehicle, you'll also get a cone projecting out to longer ranges where that high frequency update will apply. When you're not aiming down sights and driving around, they've put a larger bubble in front of the vehicle so that it will handle collisions much better. There's still a bubble behind the vehicle so that if you run somebody over, that collision is going to be handled better as well. This all means that the netcode should now be more reliable on slower connections. If you've got a really fast connection, you're probably not going to see the difference unless you're doing long range shots. But for slower connections, it's going to make a massive difference. The next item they've highlighted is some new quick match features. So the first of these is for new players. Players under rank 10 will be able to join specific servers aimed just at new players, so they won't have to play against people with a lot more unlocks and a lot more experience of the game. And you now have the option of quick matching into ranked servers, not just official servers, so any of your favourite ranked servers you can now quick match into. The third new feature are premium playlists. Now a lot of people have been complaining that these are only available to premium members, but that's because these are cross DLC, and you can only play on servers where you've got access to all the maps, and the only way they can guarantee that you've got access to all the DLC maps is if you've got premium. The patch notes don't tell you much about these 3 different playlists, but if you go to play now, they do have descriptions. The battlefield. Is Battlefield at its best? Conquest small, rush and obliteration with a good balance between vehicle and infantry gameplay. Close quarters is smaller scale infantry focused maps and modes, and large scale battles are the best vehicle focused conquest large maps. So because they didn't group map types together in the DLCs like they did in Battlefield 3, they've now got these playlists. This next item I really don't care about, Squad Obliteration. This is their 5v5 competitive mode. So they've made some changes which make the mode better, but it's really not a Battlefield gameplay mode, it's just something for competitions. So the changes they made are there are no vehicles on the maps anymore and you can't parachute spawn in. You can now spawn in on the secondary bases, and the first team to destroy 2 out of the 3 bases wins the round. The bomb carrier isn't permanently flagged like they were before, they're now only flagged up if they're spotted. But like I say, this really isn't a Battlefield mode. This is only any good if you've got an organised squad of 5 people and you're trying to play it competitively against another organised squad. And then we come to a long list of changes, and all the changes that you really care about in terms of gameplay have been buried in this section here. So, general improvements. Added squad obliteration game mode, added support for new players servers, added support for matchmaking into ranked servers. They've added some anti-cheat improvements, and then here you can see one of the major gameplay changes. They've changed how the combat system works for squad spawning, for med bags and for the first aid kit. That's pretty important to know. Also, the decoupling of the vehicle aiming from turning. That's a new option. They haven't described it, they haven't told you what it is, it's just buried in this list. So I'm going to do a video tomorrow which will show you how all those changes affect gameplay. They've added some mastery dog tags for weapons for which they were missing, they've added those premium playlists, they've fixed an issue that would cause your stats not to update properly if you got disconnected from a game, and they've fixed an exploit from CTF and obliteration. Next in the list we have some mantle fixes, we've got some graphical improvements, and we've got a bunch of console fixes which I don't really understand. However, the big one in here that I have seen in the comments is they fixed an issue where Digital Premium Edition did not give premium access on Battlelog. Now I've seen this pop up a few times where people say they have premium but they can't access the premium features, and I think that might be the fix for it. So if you've been unable to do the Phantom project because it says you're not a premium member, it should now say you're a premium member. Something else the console users should be aware of is an option to separately toggle the slowdown and auto rotation components of aim assist. And there's also the ability for server admins to disable the auto rotation component on ranked servers. Now that's something to look out for, because if the server admin has turned that off, aim assist isn't going to work the way you think it will. It's going to do a lot less assisting. In the audio section they've fixed footsteps, so you can now hear where they're coming from and roughly guess how far away they are. Now it's still not perfect, but it does give you a much clearer indication of somebody approaching. And they've fixed a couple of the music cues. Art wise, they've made the flag dog tags look better, they've made the animations of characters look a bit better in third person, and they've fixed an issue where tracers would sometimes show up from bullet impacts. Now most of the stuff on this page isn't very important, but they've hidden away 2 major things on this page. Can you spot them? Several hit indicator and crosshair improvements. So that is all the HUD customization. Changing the colour of your sight reticles, changing your hipfire reticle size and colour, changing the colour of your hit markers. All that is buried away as several hit indicator and crosshair improvements. That I will also go through in the next video. The other major thing on this page is simply described as fixed an issue where a player's health is displayed incorrectly when they get hit while regenerating health. Do you know what that is? That's one-shot kills. Literally, that line is telling you how they fixed one-shot kills. It wasn't that you were dying in one shot, it was that the health that was reported on screen was wrong. So when the game said you were on 90 health, you could be on 30. Another pretty major change on this screen is added deploy screen advanced options to show vehicle passengers more details on occupants and squad mates. What this means is you can tell the health of a vehicle before you deploy in it, so you're not deploying into a burning tank. You can also tell if any of the passengers are engineers. You can tell exactly what's going on in that vehicle now. It's a lot better. So there's quite a few improvements to the way the game plays and looks and feels in this list that for some reason have been buried away back here when premium playlists is highlighted in the first pages. Still, I guess it means I get to make another video on the patch where I'll go through all these and try and show you examples of how the new stuff works. Vehicle wise, there's only one change, and that's to helicopters. They've changed the actual physics of helicopters. They can now do barrel rolls and loops without piling into the ground. So you can have more of a chance of dodging missiles and other fire. The weapon changes are pretty minor. There's no changes to actual damage or stats of any weapons, it's just fixes. Although one thing that is worth pointing out is improved HUD clarity for red dot sights against snowy bright backgrounds. What they did is redrew all the reticles and made them a slightly deeper red colour that stands out better. That's if you're using the standard colours. If you've changed the colours, then it will still be a bolder colour than it used to be. It's not quite so washed out. So that's it for the winter patch notes. There have been some server fixes as well, but those are mostly to do with implementing these client fixes. I'll produce a video which goes through all the gameplay effects, so things like the medic bags, the spawning changes, how the new HUD options work, and then I'll get that out as soon as I can. Thanks for watching.